may be the most amazing thing most people never heard of.
I'd go to PTA meetings for my son's school, or I'd have my neighbor over for dinner, and I realized, wow, people outside of my little science world have no idea what's going on, and yet this is going to impact everybody's lives.
And most of the estimated 25,000 fans who streamed into the stadium said they were there for soul-searching on what's happening in America.
As some say, anger over politics and policies are fueling an American society of division and hate.
And I worked on Capitol Hill, started in 1968. And in those days, the Democrats and Republicans got along real well. And although they would fight on the floor, after they left the House, they would go have a drink together. Today, it's just, it's not happening today.
That's
when did we get so soft? Like when did we as Australians become so soft that we couldn't cop somebody else's opinion and get on with our lives anyway if we didn't agree with it? We've gone so soft and we're so judgmental and we want to ban everything that we don't agree with as people, which is robbing us of our personality.
Today's shooting is calling into question the state of American politics. Is it too hateful?
But just be kind. I think be kind. I'm sick of people being cruel and nasty online.
That's right. And
It's
also,
horrific,
that's
so
right.
back off everyone.
Free speech does not mean the right to abuse people or threaten them or incite violence against them. That is reprehensible. That is not what we're talking about.
When we get to the point where we can't talk to each other without going to blows, we have lost all the fabric of our society is in danger.
We can't say we didn't tell you about this one. Guys, another one for you. First, as you know, the world went wild when the male romper, or the romp him, hit the fashion scene. Orders went through the roof. Well, today we present this ensemble, designed by LA-based brand Hologram. Social media is all googly-eyed over this. Can't be sure if those pieces are machine washable, but I checked, and some of the color and combo sizes are already sold out. So if you like what you saw.
As early as next week, you won't need to pick a gender to apply for a Washington, D.C. driver's license. The state following in Oregon's footsteps. We actually told you about that last week.
And just that thing again, just going back to your original article, just because we disagree with something, should it be banned? Is our world really coming to a place of safe spaces? Isn't that what the Nazis did? They burned books because they didn't like what was written inside them.
Exactly right.
So are we going to support fascist behaviour now? Is that what we're going to do in a bid to be PC?
I think that is exactly what's happening now.
So I have to ask you, speaking of countries divided by language and religion, about Canada, a country we lived for a while. There is a new law in Canada that apparently will criminalize the misuse of pronouns. You could go to jail for calling someone by a pronoun he, she, or whatever doesn't prefer. Am I misreading this law? Does it actually suggest that that could happen?
Yes, they've added gender identity to the Canadian Human Rights Act. And that actually is the case. For Canadians, now misgendering someone will risk you being embroiled either at a Human Rights Commission or in a criminal court. I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary, this. What we're witnessing is an Orwellian assault on the most fundamental language, the language which defines the two sexes. And Canada has just put itself on the side of criminalizing that.
a fundamental language that corresponds with fundamental biology, all of which it is now mandatory to deny. It's all, you sort of wonder, like, why does no one stand up and say that?
You've taught only in Sweden, right? So what has been changing and what has changed in the last 10 years?
I started to observe things about 15 years ago, I think. I started to feel that the corridor, of opinions were
getting narrower.
Yeah, and it was quite obvious in school. You change focus in school. You were not supposed to teach the students anymore. You were supposed to make good citizens of them, to have the right values, the right opinions, and that was kind of a political propaganda. I didn't realize that first. I was just wondering what is happening. Why can't we say what we want anymore? There was I called it everyone should agree and think exactly the same.
And what really worries me about the current standard of debate at the moment is that seems to be the knee-jerk reaction of a lot of people who call themselves progressives. That if something is controversial or provocative or says something they don't like, it should be banned, it should be shut down. And that's what's happened with this film.
When the Seattle Storm take the court against Chicago July 18th, the team will make a statement beyond basketball.
It's definitely a first for us, and it's first for a professional sports team.
Storm co-owner Don Trudeau told me the WNBA team will donate some ticket revenue that night to Planned Parenthood.
We must also use this opportunity to do more to protect our unborn children.
It's almost a daily event in Europe, a terror attack of some sort, but not here.
But why not here on sort of the frequency, the level of violence that we're seeing?
There's always been violence in American politics.
Dr. Josh Stockley says this is about more than nasty politics.
I don't think it's the politics that's getting nastier from a civic standpoint. I think we as a nation are getting more violent.
What we are experiencing in America at this time is sin, lawlessness.
You say, we're headed in the wrong direction, aren't we, Phil? America's problem is that America doesn't know what its problem is.
And sometimes we wander off and we get lost and we swim with the current and we become routine to the darkness and we just get blinded instead of stopping for a second, looking up and saying, oh wow, that could be something cool.
You're looking at a woman who may have helped change the rules of life on Earth. Her name is Jennifer Doudna, and she would probably wince at the hyperbole, but it isn't far off.
Don't mess with the God of creation. You're going to lose.
How about the invention of a tool that can edit the genetic fate of almost anything alive? It may be the most amazing thing most people never heard of.
It's called CRISPR.
It's sort of making precise changes to the code of life, kind of analogous to changing the text of a document.
Which we get.
Which we get, right. You see a typo in a document, you can go in and make that change. You know, it means that we can control human evolution now. We can control essentially anything that is alive. We can manipulate the script.
So I looked up this study on growing leaders, and I said, what is the #1 fear that college kids have today? And I like this study because it went past the normal fears that you would think of. See, what it said was, they're not happy with the direction that the country is going, and they are fearful to go into that. And they want to possess values, but life has always been very convenient for them, with little need to sacrifice for what is right. Interesting. When I read that, At first I was like, wow, that's awesome, that's such a, big fear. But then I thought, that actually really bothers me, because this is something that we so have an opportunity to change.
Being gender neutral is a kind of norm, the new norm in Sweden, but no one really wants it. So that is a kind of destabilization of the Swedish society. In Sweden we are indoctrinating them to behave as women and even dress like women and wear cosmetica and take away all the male attributes.
The title of your book, The Strange Death of Europe, what do you mean by that?
I mean that through a whole set of things, Europe seems to me to be committing suicide, civilizational suicide. The book focuses on what happened in 2015 with the migrant crisis, you'll remember, but that crisis is still going on. It's been going on for a very long time. It preceded that year and it will go on for a long time to come. It's about a continent that decides to basically say, our home is the home for the entire world. It's the home for anyone who wants to come here. And in the process, as I say in the book, the peoples of Europe lose the only home we have. There's a whole set of other things, of course, civilizational self-doubt, guilt, all the things which you in America also now are getting.
Right, so they think they're being nice, they're being accepting and open, but really they're committing suicide, you say.
But in a practical sense, that's not happening anytime soon.
Yet, the headlines keep coming. Researchers in China and Sweden and the UK are already working with human embryos.
Yeah, it's passed on to future generations. That's what's so powerful.
So we actually do change evolution.
You change evolution. That's right.
It was when my dad took me hunting for the first time, and I started looking around, and I said, you know what? Something designed the design that I'm looking at. Are you kidding me? Look at all the details of creation.
Every cell of your body has 3 billion letters of the DNA code.
It has that many? 3 billion?
That's the number of letters that would be in a stack of 1,000 Bibles. And what CRISPR can do, it can go in, it can find that one mistake, and it can fix it.
Well, what is DNA? It is a molecule that sends information that every organism needs to grow correctly. It is the most complex code on the planet.
And she worries, what's next? Designer human babies? Taller, smarter, better vision for a price?
I had a conversation the other day with someone who said they were imagining to go into an in vitro fertilization clinic of the future, and you're handed a menu and you check off, well, I want this, I want that, I want this, I don't want that, It's a bit creepy.
I'm not very smart, but if you have information, I'm pretty sure there was an informant. If you have a design, there's a designer. If you have a creation, you have a creator.
So she travels everywhere to tell the story about the amazing discovery she helped bring into the world.
You see what happens when you forget God and what He says? When you take it upon yourself to play God?
It's a design. Then I got to Jesus. It got my attention.
Because His love is overwhelming. What He did for us is overwhelming.
Now, some of you already are being skeptical, and you think, well, good gracious, he sounds like a preacher. Well, you know I'm not a preacher. Look at me. I'm a believer.
If your calendar is dated on of all the human beings who have ever walked on the earth, and your calendar is dedicated and predicated to just one of them, evidently something rather large went down.